Devil's Advocate, a show where we speak about stuff we talk about in the house, really.
Yeah, basically.
This is part of the Cutting Through the Bull umbrella, the Apocalypse Network. Let me introduce ourselves. I'm Ben, and this is my co-host Shawn.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about who'd win in a night between who'd win in a fight between a knight and a samurai.
Which shouldn't even really be a discussion, but here we are.
Here we are. We've taken to the internet to discuss it like many before us.
Yeah.
But after we talked about death last time,
We thought we'd go a little bit easier this time.
Yeah.
Not so deep, not so dark.
yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Keep it light.
Keep it light. Now, I am going to say at this stage, my money is on the knight.
Yeah, you've said that a few times, but you've been yet to prove it.
I think I'm going to.
Okay, then. Tell us a little bit about the knight, then.
Alright. So you got your average knight, medieval noble. From the age of 7, they start teaching him to kill, to ride horses, to joust.
Always a great way to spend your childhood.
Yeah. As well as learning to read and write, they were highly educated members of society, or at least as educated as it got back in the Middle Ages. If you were, if you're like at the royal court, you're going to be a better educated knight than Sir Wilston Dungheap living in Carlisle, aren't you?
Yeah?
You know, nothing against Carlisle. It's just quite up north, and everyone knows as things get grimmer up north as you go. It's just my thinking on that.
Yeah?
And these are your full-time soldiers. Alright, they may not have to do a lot per year, but they're always on call.
So is that their job, then? Do they get paid for it, or is it more of a lifestyle?
It's a lifestyle, and you're given an area of land.
Okay.
So you make what money you can from the land. The peasants farm for you.
Yeah.
And then you pay a tithe to the king as your tax, but because you're a soldier, you might get a reduced tithe, so you keep it more. Remember, you've got to equip yourself. You've got to equip your fellow sort of knights esquire under you, if not other knights who've joined up with you. You've got to bring your own gear, extra horse, lance, swords, usually a train of servants behind you to carry the stuff. And then you're going to have men at arms as well under you.
Did you pay those servants?
They may have been paid at this point, like a blacksmith would probably be paid, because otherwise he'd have no incentive, would he?
Or would they be more something like a squire?
A squire?
They get paid with experience.
Yeah, well maybe. A blacksmith would certainly be paid.
Yeah.
And so would the men at arms.
Okay.
Wearing metal plate armour, covered from head to toe. There's probably chainmail in there too, as well as leather.
Guessing that's some pretty thick steel.
Yeah, it's good quality steel.
Yeah.
European steel is easily the equal of Japanese steel, in my opinion, if not better.
Okay.
Genuinely, I do. I think the katana's overrated.
The katana. Mm-hmm. Everyone always goes to the katana.
They do, but that's the...
It's not the main weapon, it's just the most well-known weapon.
Because it's the coolest one.
It is the coolest one.
And we're led to believe it can do magic when it comes to cutting, but it does not.
Just for argument's sake, it's cooler than any knight weapon.
Nah, give me a broadsword any day.
What's a broadsword then?
The broadsword is usually a two-handed weapon.
Okay.
You can have a hand and a half.
Hand and a half.
Which means it's light enough to wield with one arm, should you choose to one hand.
Yeah.
But if you do want to, the grip's long enough for you to put two hands on the blade.
So that's not the sword that they grab halfway up the top, though, is it?
No, that's a true longsword.
That's a true longsword, okay.
Well, the medieval longsword.
Yeah.
Technically, there's a bigger sword after that, another one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Well, that was like a German thing that the Landsknechts had, the mercenary force had these. They're classed as great swords.
Were they not used very often in combat?
Nah, because it takes years to learn how to actually use them.
I would imagine they'd be pretty slow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the steel's pretty good. It's light. It's got that furrow taken at the middle.
Yeah, to make it lighter. More aerodynamic,
stronger,
I guess.
And lighter.
Yeah.
It's just as strong, but you haven't got as much steel in it, so you can swing it faster.
Let's hear some pros and cons then.
Oh no, it's not the armour. The armour of a knight, he is enclosed, remember, but it does come with disadvantages, as we're going to go into.
Okay.
But I just want to say there is not much stopping this guy if he's coming at you on a horse.
He's basically like a tank, isn't he?
He's a tank.
Yeah. His armour's almost impenetrable at this point.
Yeah, Yeah, the only downside as anyone in armour has is if they get swarmed.
Yeah.
But knight versus knight, you're probably just more sort of battering the other guy into unconsciousness unless you get a clean stab.
Is this why a lot of knights tended to get into more blunt force trauma weapons so they can bludgeon their opponent to death because the armour is so effective?
Well, that's it, yeah. If you've got a warhammer or a mace, you know, that's going to cave the helmet in if you just keep hitting at the end of the day, but your sword might not glance off it.
So even if you don't pierce the armour, you'll still break their skull, basically.
Yeah, or if you catch their shoulder's still gone. You know, it's you know, they can't use their shield.
So it's very effective against any kind of slashing attack, but it's not very effective against. Well, it's less effective against blunt force trauma weapons. So like your hammers, your maces, stuff like that.
Yes, and there's chinks in every armour, under the armpits, in the joints.
Okay, yeah.
Samurai have got the same problem there, though.
Yeah, we'll get to the samurai later, so I can defend them.
But this armour's like 60 kilograms.
So it's pretty weighty then.
Yeah, but that's no more than a modern combat soldier's carrying into battle.
That's true. That's true. They do carry a lot.
Full kit, ammunition, food.
Yeah.
So they're mobile.
Yeah, you learn to carry that kind of weight if you're training with it all day. You're carrying it all day. You'd learn to handle that weight.
I've seen folk videos where you can jump onto a horse.
Yeah.
You know, there's this great myth they used to have to be lowered onto their horses by little cranes.
Yeah, all helped up.
Yeah, that's rubbish. You could jump onto a horse. This stuff is designed to give you as much agility
as possible
while wearing it.
Yeah.
Because it's all very well being really, turning up like looking like the first Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
If you're like, poof, 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 because someone's going to run around you and stab you between the testicles and the arse.
At that point,
they're going to lead onto you and pop up into your twirnt.
At that point, you just basically wouldn't be able to stop an attack because you'd be too slow.
Yeah.
So someone would find a weakness. They'd have the time.
So I suppose you've got to have a balance, haven't you, between mobility and armour protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, the knight's main weapon, as opposed to the samurai, was his sword.
Yeah.
The standard European longsword. Seen as a classical weapon nowadays. I think it's getting slightly more credibility.
Mm.
And in a zombie apocalypse, I'm taking that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Over the katana.
Yeah.
But that is their main weapon, though, the sword.
Yeah.
And would they often fight with a shield or anything else?
Yep, they'd always have a shield half the time.
Shield.
Unless, of course, they go in full two-handed sword. Or poleaxe. They would use a poleaxe, which is an axe head or a halberd on the end of a long stick. So effective against cavalry.
They're very defensive fighters then. Their offense is good, but they do tend to rely heavily on defense with the heavy armor and the shield. It's very defensive in terms of combat.
Yeah, soak up the damage.
Yeah.
And give it back.
Weight.
Yeah, I mean, because remember the good thing of the knight's sword is that the pommel at the bottom is usually weighted.
Yeah.
The bottom of the handle, big ball at the bottom of the handle, and you just use that to smash someone's face in with.
Oh, okay.
And if you damage their helmet enough, they're going to take it off because they won't be able to see.
They won't be able to see.
You know, the visibility is limited, but all this stuff was worked on from the age of 7.
Yeah.
Basically, every knight in the field, in a fully enclosed suit, would be turning their head to and fro constantly.
Yeah.
Because they can't see to their sides, which is a downside.
Yeah.
But if no one else can see to their sides, then you're on the same place. It's a level playing field.
I was just about to ask that. What's the visibility like of a helmet like that?
Well, there was a lot of different variations. Some had like cross slits.
Yeah.
Some had a visor almost. Well, a visor. Lots of variations on the visor, which you could lift.
Yeah.
Because you got the iron grill.
Yeah.
As well, but you've got to try and protect the eyes.
Yeah.
And an arrowhead. It's still quite wide and thick. You
don't want to be shot by an arrow.
You don't want an arrow in the eye.
No.
Ask Harold. You don't want an arrow in the eye. They have the poleaxe, the mace, the warhammer, and the lance. Obviously, a knight is most famous for doing the odd jousting.
Yeah.
They'd be taught to do that. They'd literally sit on a wooden horse. They'd be pulled along.
Yeah. And
they'd have to tip the rings hanging from arms, rings of rope, hanging from wooden arms, onto their lance at speed. It was most of mobility, accuracy of the thrust.
So they were highly trained in combat on a horse as well, then?
Yeah. Horseback fighting was their favourite.
Yeah.
They loved fighting on horseback. it was seen there was more honour in fighting on horseback
rather than on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they lived by the code of chivalry.
Tell us a little bit about that then.
So chivalry is basically it's a code, a suggestion.
Like a sort of moral sort of way of living your life.
But you haven't got to do it.
You don't have to. It's an option.
It's an option.
It's an option.
It's like a suggestion. Guidelines.
Was it more used than not, or?
I think on the whole, but hey, in war,
you do what you want.
A lot of stuff goes out the window, doesn't it?
That's true.
You might be Sir Bartleston Tromby, right? Comes to a war, you don't know he's like running around with a flaming sword, battering peasants down. You've no idea.
Yeah.
You know, stuff happens, man.
So it sounds very Game of Thronesy. Flaming sword.
Someone must have done it at some point.
At some point, and then they set themselves on fire and thought this isn't a good idea.
That's it. It was a nice code.
Yeah.
You know, protect the weak, be loyal to your lord, the whole moral system, don't kill the poor, be brave, be courteous, be gallant. You're basically being a bro to everybody, except you're I don't want to actually say how tall they are, but they're taller than the average peasant because they eat more meat, better meat.
Yeah.
So, and they've been training with weights and swords, so let's say that they're, I don't know, 5'8".
They've got to carry 60 kilos of armour. Yeah. They're going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, they're going to be shredded. They're going to be like little squat dudes, but they'll be taller
than
anybody else. So he's just strutting around like he's some kind of superhuman, effectively.
Compared to the peasants, he would seem that way.
Compared to the peasants covered in their own filth in the dirt. Yeah. So what's the pros and cons of a knight's gear? And it really does come down to mobility.
Yeah.
For you, doesn't it?
For me.
For you, if you think that the mobility issue is gonna...
I do think it'll slow them down in the long run. They're not going to be able to fight with that much weight for long periods of time, swinging that heavy sword and holding that heavy shield. Eventually it's going to slow them down.
It will.
Eventually. And I think that would be enough for, let's say, a more agile, faster combatant carrying less of a load to kind of clinch the victory, to be fair.
Well...
What are the weaknesses?
True, you can tire, obviously. If you fall, there's a good chance you can't get back up again if someone's attacking you.
Yeah, if you're falling off that horse, you're going to take a lot of damage, landing on 60 kilos worth of armour.
Yeah.
And that's if you fall right. That's if you fall at an angle, you're not getting up.
That's it. If the horse falls on you, even worse.
You're not getting up.
Mobility and vision. But, you know, heavy weapons. The weapons are heavy. The sword is heavy. The poleaxe is heavy.
So they're slow, but they do a lot of damage, though.
Exactly. But on the plus side, they are heavily protected. You've got your mobility with horses. They love a horse.
Yeah. Hard to beat them on a horse.
Yeah. They've got strong, big weapons and a shield, which is extra protection.
As you said, they've been made to be as destructive as possible.
Yeah, I think it's a walking tank.
High quality steel.
They're a walking tank. You know, I don't see how Johnny Samurai is going to get through this.
I like how you're spinning all of their negatives as positives as well. That's not biased at all.
Of course. Right, so that's
that's all their negatives. You were very quick with the negatives.
We discussed some of it earlier. I didn't feel the need to reiterate.
Okay, let's move on to the samurai then.
Right.
Read off the samurai. Let's see how quickly you skate over the positives. And how much time you spend on the negatives.
What are you trying to say?
It seems like your description on the two is going to be biased.
Well, samurai literally means one who serves. So he's, he serves his lord, serves the community.
Very loyal.
Very loyal. Basically, this is a question of honour. Both guys love honour.
Yeah.
A big fan of it. And they're the same as knights in a way, except, they train from childhood. But there's no ranking system with samurai until I assume the daimyo, the lord, sort of appoints somebody as a feudal chief. There must be clan heads.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
The samurai warriors themselves have no ranks.
Yeah.
Which is...
usually held by merit from like the sort of victories in battle, I would imagine.
Yeah, and
you'd be well known if you won a lot of fights, I'd imagine.
And they are duelists, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's one of their things is dueling for honour.
They're more known for dueling, so sort of than feats of command sort of thing.
No strategy then.
Well, no, there'd still be strategy, but like you said, that tends to be led by your warlords.
True.
Your feudal leaders.
They did use distance as a strategy, so I'm mocking them saying they haven't got any. They do have it. Because they used to use bows, they used to use arrows.
I was going to say, this is their positives and you're already mocking them.
I don't know if... Would the guy go, I've got my sword, I'm going to stand back here and fire a bow for a bit, and then I'm going to go forward? Or would he just be like, nope, sword out, let's go running forward? Well, there's certain guys who said, I'm going to do the bow side of things.
I would imagine...
I'm going to focus on that.
I would imagine that if you knew you were going into battle, then you would take everything. You would use the bow, and then once the bow was done, then you would either pick up your weapon, or if you had to, if they got close enough that you could no longer use your bow, you'd use your katana. But I'd imagine the bow would be the go-to weapon at first, because a lot of battles are usually at a distance, so you can try and kill your opponent before they get close.
But then again, you say, well, even though they are individuals as such, they still need to be kind of organised. So would you go, well, you guys are best with the bow.
Oh yeah, definitely.
From horseback, so you all go together.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys are great with swords. That's your main thing.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely have a similar sort of strategy in a war than the Europeans. They would have sort of their cavalrymen. They would have their archers. They would have
the same as the Europeans would.
Yeah, that's
longbows.
Yeah.
I'd put my money on a longbowman over an archer, samurai archer any day.
I didn't say who would win. I just said that they would use a similar.
Well, that's going to be another episode.
I just said that they would have a similar strategy. But if you were talking combat in like 1-on-1 or just a few samurai against opponents, then they would probably use all the weapons they had if they had a chance to bring all of the weapons. If, say, they were in a town and someone was coming in, they would probably use their bow first, then put it down if they weren't able to kill all their opponents, and then use one of their other weapons.
Yeah. It depends where you are. If you're walking through a town and you jumped,
yeah,
you haven't got your bow out, it's on your shoulder, it's across your chest, so you're going to draw your sword, aren't you?
Yeah,
so
well, they have several weapons for all... That's the difference kind of between the knight. I think the knight tends to just stick to carrying a certain amount of weapons because he doesn't think he's going to have to fight for every different scenario.
Well, he likes his sword and his lance.
Yeah, that's it. He's very rigid. He's picked his weapons. He knows it's hard to get in close to him to kill him because he's basically a walking tank. So that's it. He's got his sword and his shield. The samurai doesn't have that kind of armor, which we'll cover in a minute. But because of that, they have sort of a contingency for every sort of battle. So they have their long distance weapons, their throwing weapons, their mid-range weapons, and then they're close. They've got 2 close-range weapons, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they've got 2 swords. They carry the katana and the shorter, wakizashi.
Yeah.
At this period of time, we should point out that these guys will meet each other at the peak of their equipment.
Definitely, because the Europeans...
and experience, and equally, we're saying they're equals, they're just from different fighting cultures.
Definitely, yeah. They're equal in skill. They're top of their field. They've got the best weaponry that their current time had to offer.
Yeah. Should have pointed that out, but
at the beginning.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. And that's your short sword, the wakizashi.
Yeah.
And that's the one you use to kill yourself if you're going to get captured.
Yeah.
Or you've lost the battle.
Yeah, if you're dishonored, that's the one you use to perform. What was the name?
Seppuku.
And that is basically committing suicide by stabbing yourself in the stomach, isn't it?
Yeah, bow and arrow, we've been through the samurai, very accurate. If the film The Last Samurai is anything to go by, the samurai archers
if I remember
very good.
correctly, they tend to use that on horseback as well, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
And then there's the Najinta, which is like a staff with like a heavy katana blade underneath. So you got basically the Japanese version of a poleaxe for a knight, except it's like a bit more stabby.
Yeah, that's like their long-range weapon. That's their most deadly weapon. That actually is more. I think it was more used than the katana.
It probably was, because a spear is a handy thing to have on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
It was basically their kind of most dangerous weapon at that time.
Oh, and you've got that massive overhand slash coming in. I mean, that's you can probably take a man from head to crotch with one of these.
It's lighter than its European equivalent as well. It might not be as durable, but it's a lot lighter, so you can swing. It's long range, and you can swing it pretty fast.
Yeah. And it will defend against the cavalry as well.
Yeah, and you can lunge with it as well.
Of course.
It's a pretty deadly weapon.
Yeah. And you've got the yari, which is the slightly shorter spear, but more of an infantryman spear.
Yeah.
So they may be longer in some respects if you're an infantryman and you've issued one of these, or you'd be defending his cavalry because horses don't charge into spears.
Yeah.
And then of course they did have a shuriken, some of them.
Yeah, kunai, throwing weapons.
Yeah. That little dagger with a hole in the handle so they can sling it around their finger. And
yeah, a lot of people think that just ninjas use them, but a lot of samurai use them as well.
So yeah.
So they've got more sort of to choose from. They bring more to the fight than say the knight, because they lack that sort of defense, that armor. They make up for it with a wider sort of array of weapons they bring to the fight.
Yeah. But no, let's do some negatives.
Some negatives. The smile on your face.
Alright, I have to point out at this point we do have a dog in the room called Chloe. She's a little wolf.
That's snoring.
And she's snoring. She's fast asleep. You've got weaker weapons. The samurais got weaker weapons, in my opinion.
They're only slightly weaker, because although, as I will agree, the European steel was superior, I'll give you that, it was often sort of the katana was folded many, many times to improve its strength. And even though it was weaker, it was often lighter, which can make up the difference to the superior steel.
Okay, alright. So you say. They're dual fighting specialists.
Yeah.
That's a strength and a weakness, isn't it?
It is. One-on-one, they're going to have a massive advantage over a lot of opponents, but you put them in a battle environment with small groups of other combatants, and they are going to struggle a little bit because they tend to fight one-on-one.
Could an army of samurai break a knight shield wall armed with poleaxes and swords?
Don't know, we can discuss that later.
I very much doubt they can. Light armour, less protected. Bamboo, metal and cloth.
Yeah,
but more manoeuvrable.
They are the complete opposite to the knight. As the knight's favourite armour, they are literally a walking tank. The samurai is all attack. They're basically
is lightning.
Yeah, they're all walking spear basically. They're just trying to be as quick as possible, going for that kill shot. They're just trying to end the fight. They actually have that technique, don't they?
What's that called?
You remember what that's called?
I've got it written down.
Is it Lajutsu or something?
Lajutsu, the quick draw, the skill of
the quick draw, where they draw the blade and it's just trying to go for that one hit kill shot as quickly as possible before the opponent can react.
It's literally one movement, isn't it? You draw the blade and you're across their throat,
and that's it. It's over.
Game over.
And because the opponents often didn't have armor, that was it. They could cut straight through it because it was mostly bamboo, a little bit of steel attached and sewed in. But if they got that quick enough, there was nothing another samurai could do.
Well, if you think of the gorget, as it's called, as the piece that protects the throat, is usually, obviously in the case of a knight, is usually either chainmail at the very least, if not plate.
Yeah.
Or in the Japanese case, it'd probably be leather.
It would have been leather, yeah, I think.
And maybe a very expensive one, thin steel with leather.
Yeah, I don't know if they were known for wearing chainmail.
No, I don't think the Japanese did do chainmail. No. The masks they would wear with their helmets were leather, weren't they? Which is a sensible thing because leather can stop a sword slice.
Yeah, and it's going to take a high quality katana to get through it if the leather's thick, and you know, if the samurai's quite agile himself, he's going to be moving around as well. He's not going to be stood still, so that slice might not have hit him as well as they'd hoped. So it might be the difference to save their life,
save their pretty face.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, and the biggest one, is they can't get through the knight's armour.
Yeah, how is that a negative?
That's a massive negative.
That's not a that's not a negative on them. That's a comparison.
They can't get through it.
I thought we were going to debate the pros and cons later.
I think that's a negative. I've seen the katana fail to go through chainmail. So it's definitely not going through plate armor.
The katana's not going to go through the plate armor. There's nothing saying that they're long range weapon. The spear with the blade. Yeah, there's nothing saying that's not going to go through it.
Maybe not, but I've got a knight with a poleaxe as well. We'll sort this later on. Well, the samurai armor is just bamboo, isn't it? It's
built for speed. It lacks protection. It's almost like it's just enough to keep you protected to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you've said, when pitting it against European weapons, it's not going to do a lot in terms of protection, but it's so light that they're going to be a lot more agile. They're going to be able to move a lot faster. Like you said, it's whether or not they can cut through their opponent.
They can't.
but they are going to have a definite edge in terms of speed, and because they are going to be a smaller, the samurai are going to be a lot smaller than the Europeans because they've not packed on all that muscle mass from carrying 60 kilos worth of armor. So they're going to be a smaller opponent, which means, yeah, they're not going to have that strength, but they're going to have that speed. So it's going to be a lot easier for them to dodge attacks as well.
Should point out your background in martial arts and fighting. So you sound like you're some random bloke. I think Spock should do the. Shawn does know what he's on about.
Yeah, so a smaller opponent, and usually a samurai, I mean, everyone's different. You're going to get smaller knights.
Tell them about your experience.
Tell them about your wide array of experience. Yeah. But, yeah, I've had a lot of experience in martial arts and fighting, sparring. But in my experience, a much larger opponent is going to definitely be stronger. They're going to be able to dominate. They're going to be able to throw those massive strikes. And usually that's why we have weight classes. But I have seen smaller opponents fighting these larger opponents, and usually their strategy is to just stay away from those massive sort of blunt force attacks, which is what the knight's going to want to do because he's going to be big.
I don't think he's going to be as slow as you think he is.
But he's going to be big. He's going to be strong. He's going to be carrying his heavy weight, so he's going to be slower than his opponent anyway. He's probably going to be leaner, smaller, carrying a lot lighter armor, a lot lighter weapons. So that samurai strategy straight away is going to be keep your distance, wait for your opponent to tire out so he can get in there. Once he's tired, he can't move as quickly, and try and wear him down and get the job done.
If it came to that, if I was the knight, I'd be aiming for the samurai's blade rather than him going, I could break it.
Well, if I was the samurai personally, I probably wouldn't go straight in for combat. I would probably stay just out of range of attack. So
would try and shoot me with a bow, eh?
Not necessarily. If I had the melee weapons, then I would probably keep at a distance where I was close enough for the knight to say swing, but also far enough away that I could dodge and just keep trying to dodge and keep my distance. Probably not attack much because he's just going to block it with his shield, and if he doesn't block it with his shield, his armor's probably going to stop it or stop a lot of it. So just going to keep my distance until he tires out. And if you've got that sort of staff, that's when you can then come in when he's tired, start hitting away, chipping away at that armor, and also a bit of blunt force trauma as well with the end of the staff.
Well,
carry on.
I'm presuming that he's not just standing there doing nothing.
No, he's going to move around. He's going to chase his opponent. He's going to try and. He's bigger, he's probably stronger, he's probably got this big weapon, he's going to try and come in and just destroy his opponent. So he's going to try and chase the samurai around, basically.
Of course, yeah.
It's going to be like cat and mouse. He's going to chase him around.
But of course, they are dual fighting specialists. This is a positive.
That's true, but like you said, it can also be a negative.
If it comes to a group on group, which we'll talk about later, the knights have got it for me every time.
There's probably going to be,
if they locked shields.
Yeah, a lot of samurai probably weren't known for having as many sort of group drills, were they?
That's the dog. No, they weren't. I mean, yes, they would train together. They might all be doing the same katas, aren't they? The martial arts stances.
Yeah, they would have trained a lot in kendo. They would have done team exercises, drills, but it wouldn't have been to the level sort of as knights were kind of trained to work as a perfect unit.
Yeah,
I will give you that. They probably did have the superior training in that respect.
But the samurai also had their own code.
They did.
Bushido.
The Bushido code.
Which it basically comes from the Bushi, which is warrior, and Do, the way.
Yeah.
It's worth pointing out, this code did get corrupted a little bit in the Second World War.
Yeah.
It started off as like the Japanese version of chivalry.
Yeah. You're like trying to bring the world wars into conversations and debates.
No, I'm just pointing it out. I'm going to point out a fact later on.
Okay.
The Bushido is a code, is a religion.
Yeah, they took it very seriously.
Whereas chivalry is more of a suggestion.
Yeah. Bushido was very strict. It was almost a religion. They had to follow it to the letter, or at least they were supposed to. Otherwise, they would dishonour themselves, their lord.
There's always a few bad apples. Became Ronin.
There's sort of eight main sort of things they followed, wasn't there?
That's it. Yeah. You've got the virtues, 8 virtues.
The 8 virtues.
Justice. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. Courage, mercy, politeness, honesty and sincerity, honour, loyalty to the code and your lord, and character and self-control.
Cool.
So let's go through. So obviously justice, remember, you are like the Japanese version of a knight. You are of a higher standing in society.
Yeah.
Your son has to follow you into this role.
Yeah, that's not a choice.
He gets no choice in that.
Whereas the knights, they did have a choice. Often they did follow their father's footsteps, but it was an option not to. They could pursue other things, but a samurai, they didn't have a choice. If their father was a samurai, that's it. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that is it.
You're inheriting his sword and everything. It's very very traditional.
That is pretty cool, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And the armor, probably.
Yeah, probably. You would have kept your family armor in the house in at times of peace.
But so would the knights. To be fair, the dad would have the best armor,
yeah.
and then
it'd be
that would get
on.
passed down. But
yeah.
but he might have armor that's like, especially with Japanese armor.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get gunpowder. They were a very primitive version of gunpowder.
Yeah.
Gunpowder weapons, but nowhere near the sort of way it changed European warfare.
Yeah.
Fighting with the sword in Japan and was seen as the honourable way to fight.
It was, yeah.
Now, as soon as gunpowder weapons came into it,
they were very reluctant to move on to the next sort of form of warfare, weren't they? Because that was their way. It was traditional, always traditional.
Yeah. So the Europeans went, hang on, we can train peasants to do this.
Yeah.
We don't need to maintain.
You don't have to pay those expensive knights. Yeah.
You've got to buy all the armour and.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't need that. We can put that bloke in a red coat and give him a firearm, and off he goes.
Yeah, you didn't have to give him land. You didn't have to give him money to keep him on sort of retainer.
That's it.
Yeah.
Goddamn capitalism. It's medieval capitalism. Ye olde medieval capitalism.
It always finds a way in, doesn't it?
Damn you, capitalism.
But yeah, it's sort of those 8 sort of things that those samurai had to follow, and if they didn't follow that, then that's usually when they would bring dishonor to themselves, and they would then have to perform the what was it?
Seppuku.
Seppuku. Yeah, they would have to perform that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like their way of redeeming themselves, and like you said, if they lost a battle, they would often have to do that. It was their only way of redeeming themselves was to take their own life.
Yeah, being captured was not a big thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes if they were captured, remember that mercy is one of the virtues. The capturer would say, all right, you may commit seppuku.
Yeah, and that was a mercy.
That was a mercy.
Killing yourself instead of
me killing you, because I'm going to kill you anyway.
But torture you first for information.
Or at least cut your head off.
Yeah.
But I'm giving you, but that's not honourable death. Being from behind, for example, like so, you make him kneel facing away, and I just cut his head off from behind.
Yeah.
That's not honourable. That's being killed as a prisoner.
Yeah.
Allowing him to, because the stomach wound is fatal.
Yeah.
But it's just incredibly painful, and the mercy of the sword stroke is seen as the mercy as well. Sometimes they will you can commit seppuku, but you don't get your head cut off.
I would imagine that it would have something to do with the fact as well that if you're a samurai and you've come from a long line of samurais, you don't want that dishonour that you were defeated in battle. So it's almost like you take your own life. So
well, I think the defeat's okay.
Yeah.
It would be okay in the annals of family history.
Yeah.
But the fact you were captured would be like, oh my god, that's terrible.
So you have to take your life.
You've got to do it, haven't you?
And it's almost like then you took your own life, so it's not like you were killed by another samurai. So they can say I defeated him, but I didn't kill him in combat.
That's it.
So it's almost like you take that honor away from them as well. So they can't go around telling everyone, oh, I killed this great samurai warrior. They defeated him, but he had to perform that. Yeah. So it's almost like he keeps a piece of his honor.
That's it, yeah. It's like seen as like when England lose on penalty shootouts.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, we gave it our best shot, but we're never going to self-destruct.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd pick 4 scenarios to debate.
Yeah, 4 fair scenarios to debate.
Yes, fair, air quotes. Fair.
Air quotes.
So 1 on horseback.
Yep.
2 on the ground with armour.
Yeah.
3 on the ground with no armour. And 4 a group combat.
Yeah, team fight.
Yeah, the only one that we would assume that they're all they are both combatants or all combatants of equal skill.
Yeah,
and they have the best kit they can produce.
Yeah,
at the point in history.
Yeah,
at their peak.
Let's also mention we can come off the horse if we need to.
Yes,
if you
get knocked off.
Yeah,
yeah,
as the knights might do.
I'd imagine the Japanese horsemen would be wearing heavier armour because they're on the horse as well.
Yeah.
Because there was a heavy samurai, a samurai heavy cavalry.
Yeah.
They had longer swords.
Yeah, they were more heavily armoured as well. The
because
people.
obviously the point of any heavy armoured horseman is you want that groan to be thundering as they charge.
So their horse and them probably would have been
punch their way through the line.
Definitely.
So they'd have been heavily. I suppose we could pit that against each other.
Yeah.
But I still think the knights got more penetrating power.
What would you compare that to, like a jouster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd start with the lance.
Yeah.
They'd have the yari.
I think in the first sort of scenario where they're on horseback, it's best we stick to they can pick whatever weapons they want.
Yeah, well the knight would start with the lance, wouldn't he?
Yeah, because I do think that if you had a knight using his sort of charging weapon versus the samurai's charging weapon, they probably did have more superior weaponry on that. So giving them the option to choose whatever they wanted to on horseback would be fairer.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go.
Is that the first one we're going to tackle?
On horseback, yeah.
On horseback, okay.
I think the knight's got it all day. He's literally been, as soon as he can sit on a horse, he has sat on a horse. As soon as he can sit on a model of a horse, he's sat on a model of a horse. In fact, he's slightly bow-legged from sitting on horses so much.
Walking like John Wayne.
Walking like John Wayne, but without the anal rape.
No. Right, walk me.
He is literally bow-legged. You do realise this?
Walk me through the scenario in which he wins this fight then.
Okay, so they both charge at each other.
Okay.
The knight is in full armour. The horse is armoured. It's got barding on.
Yeah.
The horse is wearing chainmail and plate too.
Yeah.
It's a bigger horse. It's a European horse.
Yeah.
So it's bigger.
Yeah.
It's corn-fed, grass-fed. It's got more stamina.
Yeah.
It's got horseshoes probably. I don't know if Japanese horses have horseshoes or not. I've no idea.
Let's presume they do.
Yes, presume they do.
In your scenario.
Right. They thunder towards one another.
Yeah.
Even if the samurai draws his sword, that is... Personally, if I was a samurai, I'd have my sword out.
Okay.
And my sword.
You're...
And my katana.
Yeah.
Because as any guy on horseback with a spear would attest to, if you don't make that first strike, and they get behind the point of your weapon with their sword, it might be as simple as just knocking it out the way with the blade. You've then got to...
So you think the samurai would start with a katana?
Yeah, if he can get inside the reach of the point of
on
the blade.
A horse.
Yeah.
And
that's the only way the samurai's winning this.
What's the knight using?
He's using a lance.
He's using a lance against the katana.
Yeah.
It seems like you've made it very unfair for the samurai.
He would pull the lance out on the charge. That's what he's trained to do.
So if he blocked the lance, then he would have his chance for a kill shot.
He could do, but the knight's also wearing better armour. He could knock him off the horse.
Okay. Seems like you've not really given the samurai much of a shot in this fight.
Nope.
No.
Because they were foot soldiers. They had cavalry, but I think they preferred it on foot myself.
Yeah.
Pardon the archers.
But he's got all of his weapons, and he chooses just to use his katana.
You fight the corner for him?
Okay, so let's say for argument's sake, like you've just said, the knight, he's an experienced guy that fights with a lance, so he's going to charge in.
Yeah, and when he's not fighting wars, remember, he's fighting in tournaments.
Yeah.
So he's got constant practice.
Yeah, he's extremely skilled with a lance. Okay, so he's holding his lance. That's the weapon you think is the best for horseback.
Yeah.
So he's charging.
He's obviously got a sword on him too.
He's got a sword on him ready to go if he needs it. But he's charging him with that lance, full bore. He's coming at that samurai.
Yeah.
Okay? So our samurai, he brings out his bow. He shoots that horse out dead. That horse is down. What happens to the knight? He falls down. He has a massive landing. That 60 kilos just crushes him. Let's say, for argument's sake, he's lucky and that horse doesn't land on him. He's not pinned down.
That'd be a broken leg if your horse fell on your leg.
Yeah, it's a broken leg. He's stuck. He's not going anywhere. But that samurai, he's hit that shot, and that knight was charging at him, so he's landed close to the samurai. The samurai trots over, he jumps down, he's in light armour, so he's not very heavy, he's got down nice and quick. He's literally face to face with that knight. That knight's dropped his lance because he couldn't keep hold of it when he was falling.
He's going for the dagger.
Yeah, he's going for the dagger. But then that samurai's got a multitude of weapons he can use to try and stop that knight. So he brings out what's the staff with the sword called?
The jinta.
No, not that one. The other one. The Nagita.
Nagita, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nagita, that's what I said.
How it's pronounced.
Nagita.
Yeah.
Nagita,
so he tries to stab.
It's the poleaxe version,
yeah.
isn't
So
it?
he tries to stab that knight. Even if he can't get through his armor, he tries to aim for the weak points, the eyes. At this point, he's close enough where he can see the knight's armor.
If I was him, I'd put the shortest blade I had at this point and just slot it through his eye socket.
Yeah, but it's not a good idea to get close to an opponent that big, as you've seen Game of Thrones with the mountain.
Yeah.
Do you want to get that close?
No.
So he goes in, he tries to stab, or he can even try and bash in the head with the other side of the staff, so he doesn't have to get close to that much larger and much stronger opponent. Or he can, if he really wants to, if he's skilled in martial arts, because as we know, the samurai were skilled in martial arts, which was called, what was that called again?
It was called...
Was it Bushinto or something like that?
Yes, it was, yes. Yes, Bujitsu.
Bujitsu. Yeah, so...
Bujtsu.
Yeah, which we know has expanded most of the modern day martial arts.
Yeah,
not
everything
all.
kind of comes from this, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Really?
but a lot.
Yeah.
So the sort of Aikidos, which is the grabs and the throws, and your jujitsus, which is your strangles and your arm bars.
Submission moves.
Yeah, so if that staff's doing nothing, that knight's getting up, he's trying to draw his sword. You don't want that to happen, because that's not a sort of scenario where the samurai is going to win. So he's going to want to try and grab that arm, bend it behind, because that arm is quite tight. It's going to be hard to move and it's weighty. If you bend that arm back, you've subdued him.
Is the knight stronger than the samurai, though? There's a question. I mean,
usually in my experience, if someone's on the floor and you've got two hands on one arm and they're already disorientated anyway, there's a good chance you're going to get it behind and snap it before, or at least get into some sort of arm bar or lock before that
but you
knight
assume
can
the
get
knight's not doing anything while all this is going on.
No, the knight's obviously, he's just fell. He's disorientated. He's injured.
What if he hasn't fell? What if the horse doesn't get taken out by the arrow?
In this scenario, the samurai has a perfect shot.
So basically, the samurai is doing this the cowardly way.
Yeah.
And shooting him down from a distance.
Did I say that he was going to win honourably?
Oh, that's all about the honour.
If he wins...
The knight had called him out and hold his sword up and come on.
It is honourable, though, because the knight has superior technology.
No.
He does have superior technology. We've discussed that his armour is superior in terms of technology, weaponry. So the samurai, he's known, as we said earlier, he's known for keeping his distance. He's trying to think out a strategy to try and take his opponent out before they get closer to combat. So he's gonna take him to the ground.
What if the knight gets up and he's okay though? What if he's fallen off a horse a shit ton of times in armour?
It's 60 kilos, that landing down on you. You're not going to get up straight away.
No, he might get up after a minute or so and he's got to close that distance.
But at this point, the samurai probably would be off his horse and closing in the gap before the knight gets up. And if he gets up, he's going to be off balance, so he could just knock him back on the ground.
But on horseback, sword to sword, the knight's got him.
Probably, but they're not going to go sword to sword.
What if some wild Japanese samurai's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll meet your challenge?
Yeah, then he's probably going to lose, isn't he? Because his armour can't pierce and his armour's inferior.
The famous katana...
The famous katana
will not go through European armour.
It's an incredible piece of weaponry if it's going against things that it can easily slice through. If it's going through leather armour, if it's going through anything like that, but if it's going through steel, it's probably going to be stopped.
It's not going to go through.
Yeah, it's going to be stopped.
And it's not heavy enough to give me blunt force trauma.
So even though it's the most famous of all of the samurai's weapons, it isn't the best one, because as we've seen in many samurai movies, it's only really effective when they fight without armour. When they start fighting with armour, they have to rely on other weaponry to finish off their opponents, or the armour's just crap that they use. So he's going to want to...
Imperial Stormtrooper armour.
Yeah, so I see him winning this most of the time, but he doesn't win it in a fair fight. He has to keep his distance, and then once the knight is disorientated off his horse, he's breaking his arm, or he's taking his helmet off, he's stabbing him in the neck, or he's choking him out. He's not fighting fair, but he's winning that fight.
I disagree, but I will give you it.
I'll give you, if they charge at each other 10 times out of 10, that knight is... I don't even... How you said... he might block it with the katana, getting close. Even if he blocked it with the katana, he's not going to be able to cut him with the katana. So his only real choice then is to jump off his horse, take the knight off the horse, pull his helmet off, stab him with the katana, or the short blade, the wakizashi. That's the only way. He's basically just tackling him to the ground. He's not going to win on horseback. He's going to have to take him off the horse. So I will give you,
Yeah.
if they stay on horses, that's what I said at the beginning, they're allowed to take each other off the horses. I rigged the fight.
You rigged this, you
I
bastard.
rigged the fight. If you're staying on the horse and it's just a charge, the knight's he's got, like you've said, he's got years of experience. He's taken him out. But I give the fight. If it's an unfair fight, I give it to the samurai. He's gonna kill the horse. The knight's gonna fall over. And he's going to just run off.
It's not very Bushido-y.
It's not, no. And if you wanted to bring that as a valid argument, that if he was following honour, he would have let the knight get up, then he's going to lose.
Pick and choose, do they, the samurai, eh? Pick and choose.
I'm just saying, if you're saying that he's going to be super honourable and he's going to let the guy get up, which he's not going to do because he doesn't want to lose the fight, and he already feels like it's not fair as it is because the guy's got a shit ton of armour. So he's just going to try and win that fight because he doesn't want to die.
All right.
Should we move on to the second one?
On the ground with armour, knight, boom.
What's your argument?
This is what his job is. This is him. This is him. He's a tank.
This is him.
He's a tank. He's going to go in there. He's got a pole axe to start with. He's got a sword. He's got a shield.
Yeah.
He's got his dagger.
Yeah.
He might have a mace as a backup. Who the fuck knows? He's going to that samurai.
Yeah.
Samurai can't get through his armour. Any day, it doesn't matter how quick he is.
Yeah.
The knight's going to get him eventually. And I think the legendary katana, I don't think he can stand up to repeated parries from a European longsword.
But the samurai, you keep saying...
I think it'll break. It'll become so blunt, it is absolutely useless. With, hey, I got my longsword, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Alright, it is heavy.
Yeah.
But I've got the pommel, which is solid steel, that I can fucking smash into your face if I can grab you.
Yeah.
I can bring it down on top of your head. I can gouge your eye out with the pommel.
Yeah.
I've got it at the end of the day. And let's face it, if it fails, I will bludgeon you to death with my blunt blade. Whereas you can't do that with your pretty little curve, which is no good for a lunge, which you would need to get through my armour. Okay, so again, you keep bashing the katana, but you have to remember they get to bring everything with them. They do, but I don't think he's got the Vegeta could take on the knight on the ground. I think either with his halberd or poleaxe. Yeah. I think all with him with a sword and shield versus Najinta. He ain't getting through. He just ain't getting through. So do you think he would use the katana? I don't personally think he'd use the katana on the ground. I think he would use a long... He no knows... shields. Right? If there was no shields, I think the Japanese are, alright, let's do this as a duel. Yeah. So he'd pull the katana then, because he'd go, right, it's a duel now. Yeah. With a shield, he's definitely using a long-range weapon. Yeah, but I can't see him getting through that. Spears, I mean, yeah, the Najinta can slash down. So what's your scenario then? What's going down? All right, they meet each remember, other. He's not going to use. He's not going to just use the katana. He's probably not going to use the katana at all unless he has to. That's not his. Yeah, so we start with the Najinta. Yeah, that's what he's going to. Or the Yari. He might start with the longer spear. Yeah, he's the shorter spear. One of those two, because he's going to want to keep this tank at arm's length. The guy's bigger than him. He's taller than him. The only thing really that the Japanese warrior has on him in terms of armor is the Japanese armor was very scary. It was used for intimidation. They had those masks. It's true. They were trying to scare their opponents. So you might say that if the knight wasn't that brave, he might be a little bit intimidated by that. Not if he's following the chivalric code. He might have been a bit nervous. He's never seen armour like that. Well, they'd both be nervous. I mean, imagine what the samurai is looking at. Yeah. He's oh my god, it's Iron Man. It's a walking tank. Sorry. No, it's fine. Continue with the solo. I am Iron Man. Right. Sorry, yeah. So what's that scenario? Go on then. Well, they both met. Yeah. You know, off their horses. Okay. Maybe they're across a field from one another. Okay. And sun setting. Sun setting. There's a wheat field in the background. Yeah. Okay. And the knight sort of puts his poleaxe into the ground, let's say. Yeah. Draws his sword, because he'd want to fight with the sword. Two swordsmanship being more prized than usual. Would he keep his shield? Keep his shield, obviously, that's the way he's trained to fight. Okay. The samurai would probably respond to that, because it's a duel. Yeah. There's honour in duels, isn't there? Yeah. So he would maybe plant his Najinta down. You don't want him to use the Najinta. And use a sword. No, he wouldn't. No, I'm not saying they don't come into play later. Okay. But I think they both start with a sword.
Okay.
I think that katana is going to get very blunt very quickly.
Yeah, it's just going to bounce off the armor, but
And then it's not heavy enough to do any real blunt force trauma damage.
yeah, but you see a lot of samurai, especially in warfare, and if they're fighting an opponent they don't understand, they don't know, they're going to use long range weapons.
Yeah, but you can't just say, oh, he's going to get a bow.
No, he's not. No, in this scenario, they don't have a bow. They don't have a bow, but he is not going to use the katana first. The katana, everyone obsesses over the katana because it's in the movies.
It's because fat men in trilbies wield it like kings.
It's glorified in the movies.
Have you ever seen them memes?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
you have to send them me.
Oh, you know, there's that thing with like anime. You're an anime kid, so I won't be too harsh. But you know, these like anime kids, and they're larger guys, and they don't talk to girls. And
okay, yeah.
They live with anime, and they've got a waifu.
Yeah.
And they've got a digital waifu.
Digital waifu.
And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I just found out I'm 1/6 Japanese.
Oh, okay.
And they start trying to wield a sword in the back garden and cut through pop bottles and melons and things. And they wear trilbies and say, how are you, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to use the katana first, but we'll go with your scenario, and then I'll do a counter scenario. But he's not going to use the katana first, in my opinion. Continue.
All right, okay. Well, I just think, and I even think the martial arts side of things. You mentioned martial arts.
Yeah.
Now, knights knew how to fight.
They did, yeah, they did. They had their own kind of martial arts.
You know, they had, okay, not every knight would have had access to it, but there were parchments of Greco-Roman wrestling manuals left.
Yeah, so they did know how to wrestle a little bit.
They knew how to, I'd imagine, grapple, certainly.
Yeah.
Because remember, on a medieval battlefield, I'd imagine there's more grappling.
Yeah.
And it's all about that upper body strength.
Oh, it would be. The knight is going to definitely be stronger than the samurai. Yeah. That's why I argue that the samurai is going to keep his distance. He's going to have speed. That knight's going to have strength. But he would throw that samurai around if he got a hold of him.
Oh, yeah. We're talking Chokeslam City. But I do think the knight is just as good a swordsman.
Yeah.
There were various manuals and techniques and people who trained.
Yeah.
Who'd usually seen battle.
Yeah.
To train young knights as children sometimes, from the age of 7. Your master at arms in your castle, in your dad's castle, might be his most experienced knight, who's just a little bit too old to fight now, but still knows his shit.
Yeah. Those knights, they would have known how to brawl as well. If they would have kicked or punched the samurai. They're breaking some bones, breaking some ribs.
Remember, the knight's got literally a steel glove.
Yeah, it's basically
he's got a steel fist.
Yeah, he's got a gauntlet.
But he managed to put the sword up to block a blow. His first thing is he's going to push him off easily.
Yeah.
Because he's got the more strength with 2 hands behind a blade.
Yeah.
And he's going to fucking smack him in the face, isn't he?
So what's this scenario?
I think the knight wins every time.
You didn't say the scenario. So they go katana to...
And then even the poleaxe versus the Najinta. Yes, quicker. Yes, more stabby.
Okay.
He's only going to catch you once. He's going to have to die 1,000. He's going to have to die the death from 1,000 cuts with that Najinta.
So in your...
You can't get through his armour.
So you're saying in your scenario, they put their long-range weapons away. They use swords.
Maybe their swords get knocked out their hands. They both scramble for something else. They pull the thing out the ground.
Yeah.
Come on then. And he's got it in his 2 hands.
But when he swings his katana at that armor, it's just chipping away until it snaps, basically.
No, it's not going to snap.
Or it's just useless. It's not
getting through. Blunt his blade before.
Yeah, it's just not getting through. And then you're saying that even if they go for the long range weapons, he's not piercing it with that weapon.
Maybe with a thrust.
Yeah.
If he gets one of the vulnerable spots in the armor.
But the knight's just going to bring up his shield, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And if he's using the poleaxe 2-handed.
Yeah.
Then he's still got as much defence, really, because he's holding it in front of him.
Yeah.
It's going to come down, he can swing it around.
He can try and block.
It's an axe head, which is a bit heavier than the sort of katana-like blade on the Najinta. But I think he's got to hit him once with that.
Yeah.
You've got to get through my armour. I hit you once. It might not break the armour, but it's doing massive blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
If I catch if I go for the headshot.
Yeah.
And let's say that the helmet does take it and it bounces off. It's landing on your shoulder.
Yeah.
On your collarbone.
Yeah.
You ain't lifting your arm after that's hit you in it.
See, in this second scenario, I give it to the samurai again. In this one...
Oh, quelle surprise!
No, okay, so this is how I see this fight going down. Samurai are very good at keeping their distance from larger opponents. They're trained to fight that way. As I said before, he would have used his bow in the previous fight. We're saying in this fight they're not using archery.
Yeah.
So they're just going to use whatever weapons they have. They have their own martial arts, as we already discussed. So the samurai being the agile, smaller, faster opponent, and I'm not saying the knight can't move. He can move, but he's carrying 60 kilos of weight. His sword is going to be a lot heavier. He's
been doing this since he was 7.
Yes, he has, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But any big fighter, even if you took off all their armor off and they had a fist fight, every big fighter, usually, if they've both been training all their life, he's got bigger muscles. They require a lot more blood to their muscles. He's going to tire quicker. He's going to get tired quicker. This is why heavyweights, their fights, when you watch them in boxing or whatever sport, they look tired after a few rounds.
What about if he eats a load of beef before he goes out?
It's not going to matter. So
everyone knows beef is the best energy for fighting.
The perfect strategy for the samurai is he's going to go long range. Obviously, if you're saying the knight's going to match him, they've both got long range weapons, and they're swinging these sort of spears, so to speak.
Sorry, I just can't get you.
So they're bringing, they're both bringing them into the battle. The knight, obviously, he knows he's superior in stature, size. We're going to say he's not intimidated by the samurai's armor because he can see it's mostly leather and very little steel.
He's thinking, oh, this will be easy.
Yeah, so he's thinking this is going to be easy. So he's charging in and he's flaying that weapon. And don't get me wrong, he's nearly hitting him every time.
He is going to hit him.
It's a
might be a
weapon.
bit more manoeuvrable, but he's still not entirely he's not skipping around like.
But you see,
I'm the skipping man. I mean, he's not going to dance around like that, is he?
But see, we're not saying like a boxing ring or a square room. We're in an open field. You've even said we're in an open field. So that samurai is just going to keep just out of range. And every time that guy swings, he's just going to step out of range, and he's just quick enough to step out of range. Though. And as soon as that knight starts getting tired, and he will tire. That's when the samurai goes in. He takes his risk. It is risky, don't get me wrong, because that's when they can start hurting each other. He pulls out something. He hits him a few times with it. It might not break the armor, but
it's not going to break the armor.
No, it's not going to break the armor, but it's going to be enough to disorientate him. He comes in, short sword to the throat. It's over, or even to the eye. He goes straight in. It's over.
You've got a very specifically shaped dagger to get through those eye sockets.
So you find
they're called misery cords. They're a very fine pointed dagger. Cool name as well.
I would imagine the blade is going to be on the.
Well, look, either way, I don't give it to the samurai at all in this.
I give it to the samurai on that one.
No, you're just being biased here.
So are you.
No, I'm not.
In this second fight, he is literally just going to wait for him to tire, and he knows full well that guy is basically he's very heavy, he's fully armoured. If he gets kicked or punched, it's going to break bones, because like you said, he's basically got a steel fist and foot. If he gets kicked in the ribs, it's going to break that samurai's ribs.
Yeah.
So he's keeping his distance. He's attacking the legs, he's kicking them in the legs, he's trying to sweep the legs with the staff side.
Sweep the leg?
Yeah, he's trying to sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg.
With the staff side of the long range weapon.
He's dropping that shield down and thrusting in.
No,
he's got no shield,
I think he's got that one. I know you think that the knight's got all 4 scenarios, but the first 2 definitely give it to the samurai.
I'll give you the next one, actually.
The next one.
Because I think no armour. I don't think it'll be quick.
I think that
I don't think he's going to get him in the one strike. I
think scenario 2, it could go either way. Because I think that, sorry to go back, but I think that even though he could weaken the knight enough and tire the knight out enough, he's still got to get close to that massive armoured dude and try and stab him with a short dagger to finish the job. So it could go either way.
One thing the Japanese guy will be intimidated by is the size of the knight's codpiece, which in sometimes was a erect penis.
You could even say that because the knight's so heavily armoured, if that samurai came in to try and kill him, he just grabs him and bear hugs him to the ground and then he just beats him to death.
Yeah.
Because that would be,
that'd be Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah.
Grabs him, bear hugs him down, slams him down.
See, I'm trying to help you there. I brought the wrestling.
He's winning.
It's a close fight. It's a 50-50 with that one, but I'd go Team Samurai.
80-20 to the knight.
Right, let's move on to the third one then.
On the ground, no armour.
On the ground, no armour. Go on then. Let's hear it. Let's hear a strategy rather than just he's going to go in and beat the crap out of him.
I think that if it came down to swords, and I've said this before, I think if it comes down to swords,
I think you might have a point there.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of difference. I think it's going to boil down to who's. The knight's going to have the disadvantage because the katana is lighter and the longsword is heavy.
Yeah.
But the later versions,
yeah,
had the chunk in the middle taken out.
Yeah.
Oh God, what's that called? I'll come to it at some point. The line in the middle. So you've still got a strong blade.
Yeah. It's faster. It's more aerodynamic.
It's more aerodynamic. Doesn't get stuck as easily.
Yeah, it's easier to pull out if you.
It's a stabber.
Yeah.
It's a slasher. Both sides are sharpened.
Yeah.
You've only got one sharp edge.
Yeah.
And your point, while probably sharp, curved blades are not made to stab with.
Definitely insulting the katana again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to offend all those weeboos and wifos.
The entire debate, you're just like, it beats the katana, it beats the katana. And I'm like, well, he has like 4 or 5 other weapons.
Yeah, but I said that the poleaxe is just as good as an Ajinta.
Yeah.
And I would also rather have a mace or a warhammer than your short sword.
Okay.
Because I know, while your little short sword's trying to hack at my side, I'm smashing a warhammer into your face.
Yeah. Okay, so my scenario... Okay, we'll say for argument's sake he uses the katana. He uses the katana, as we know he has that slashing move, which is incredibly fast. That's incredibly hard to block.
Could get him with that straight off the bat.
Straight off the bat. If he's quick, and he's quick enough so that guy can't bring up his shield, it's over. He's not blocking it with his sword. 9 times out of 10 he's not going to be quick enough, no matter how quick he is with that sword. They tend to hold it above their head.
I don't know. If you think about it, the slashing move, the knight's got his shield like that. He'd have it at least resting on his thigh like that. And he'd have his hand on his sword. And now the second the Japanese guy goes to move for his blade, the knight's bringing that shield up and drawing his sword, and he's coming to the on guard
That's
himself.
not what happens. You see, the samurai doesn't draw his blade until his opponent's within range, so he would actually keep it sheathed. So you'd have your knight, he'd have his shield ready, he'd have his sword ready, and he'd be approaching the samurai. The samurai would be solid.
If he's approaching him, then he's coming at him in the on guard.
Yeah.
So shield is up.
Yeah.
Blade's over the top.
Yeah.
So he's not getting the throat.
And no, he's not going to aim for the throat. So the samurai would take a wide stance. He actually squats very deep and very low. So,
like he's in a French toilet.
Yeah. So he's going very deep, very low. He's waiting for his opponent to approach him, and he actually slashes up. So it could actually take the groin up.
I mean, the shield's there. It covers it. That's the point of the shield.
That's providing that the knight isn't trying to swing to try and get the first blow.
No, but the shield covers you as you swing. What's the point of a shield? You don't swing your sword and go, ha ha! Do you lift your shield to the side?
But again, he could do that, and maybe he could block it, but maybe the samurai was a very agile fighter, so the knight would go straight forwards. The samurai might even sidestep before he throws that slash. So
maybe,
now he's at the side.
Okay, I'll give you that.
So I think if we're talking slashing speed, the knight's 9 times out of 10, unless he gets that shield there in time, he's not going to stop it. Because if the samurai knows he's not going to get a straight up slash forwards, he's going to sidestep and he's going to go in at the side.
I will give you that the samurai is the more agile the fighter, but remember that
he's faster. He's more
agile. So I will give him this one.
Yeah.
But I do think if it came to a straight sword fight without armour, I don't think it'd be quick.
Yeah.
I think the European martial arts are just as adequate as...
Well, you brought up a fair point. If you're raining down attacks, because the knights ended up attacking from above, didn't they?
Yeah.
So if you're raining down attacks, and it's a fair straight up...
But the katana strikes come from above too.
They can come from above, they can come from below.
Mainly from above. That guard is up high, whereas the knight would have his sword across his body.
That speed attack was specifically invented to try and attack from below before that sword could come down. So if you're talking, he's raining down those strikes, that samurai's going to struggle to block them. And like you said, it's the inferior sword, it's smaller, it's lighter, it is more likely to get damaged or even knocked out of the hand, because you've got to think that's massive vibrations right there. So in straight up,
or just break.
Yeah, so if we're talking clash to clash, sword to sword, that katana's going flying.
Yeah.
I am by no means saying that the samurai is going to win in a straight up, lightsaber, bang duel.
But let's not forget that the broadsword or the longsword itself is not like a heavy piece of steel. It's light. It's maneuverable.
Yeah.
It might not be as maneuverable as the katana.
Yeah.
But you can switch it around in your hand. You can Jon Snow that shit up.
So I'm not by any means saying that they're not. That it's going to be 100%. The swords are clashing and they're going on for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm saying the samurai wins this because he goes in, he takes it to the side, and he ends it in like less than 3 seconds. He's going for the quick kill because he knows that guy's bigger than him. He's got a bigger sword. He's not going to win that if it draws out.
Name my sex tape.
He knows he's not going to win it unless if it draws out. So he's going to want to end it as quickly as possible. Alternatively, his other choice is we ruled out bows and we ruled out crossbows because that fight would just be who's the quickest shot.
Well, in that case, the samurai wins it every time because a bow is a lot quicker to reload than a crossbow.
Yeah. So, but what we did forget to mention is if they're not using armor, is the samurai did have quite a lot of throwing weapons.
That's true.
So he could have thrown a shuriken kunai, which probably might not have killed his opponent, but it definitely would have injured him enough to distract him, so he could get in, do that speed slash. So I'm definitely giving that one to the samurai.
I will give the samurai that one. So because unarmored, obviously the knight's greatest strength is his armor. Yeah, which is why. Not that he's any less of a skilled fighter.
Yeah, which is why on the second one I will give it to you. It would be a very uphill battle for the samurai, and he only wins it with luck and really getting in quickly because he's not piercing that armor. None of his blades are probably getting through to it. He needs to basically wear out his opponent and try and get in. That's the only way he's winning that one. And if I was to put like a number on it, I'd say he's winning 3 times out of 10. The knight's probably going to win a lot on the second fight because he's got the superior tech.
Yeah.
He's got the superior weapons, superior shield, superior armor. The only thing you do is tire him out.
That's it.
And some big guys have great stamina.
That's true.
They do.
Yeah, so, look at the Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly. So if that knight's been training all his life, I don't know, he does a little bit of cardio, goes on a jog every morning, he's good to go.
Yeah.
So
I think on horseback is a draw at best.
I think I'm giving it to the samurai on horseback.
Yeah, we know you're giving the samurai.
If he takes out the horse, he's winning that.
Yeah, all right.
If he doesn't take out the horse, he's losing it.
Yeah.
The second one, he's only winning it if he tires out the knight. Yeah. The knight's winning it if they go in close.
Yeah.
And the third one, unarmoured, he's winning it if he distracts his opponent, injures his opponent, or he's just too quick for the knight to react.
Yeah.
But if it's a drawn out battle, I'll give it the knight. He's gonna wear him out. When you get hit by someone a lot harder than you, it wears you down mentally and physically. So if that fight draws out, the samurai can hear his sword getting chipped, he can hear it getting damaged, he's feeling those massive vibrations from sword to sword.
Yeah.
It might even break his sword unless it's an incredibly good sword. That's gonna break his will, basically.
And let's face it, the blunter that sword gets,
the less effective it is.
And of course I can still bludgeon him to death with mine.
In all 3 of these scenarios, are you the knight? You're like, if I...
Yeah.
You're the knight.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the 4th scenario?
Shall we move on to the 4th scenario, Sir Benjamin?
Sir Benjamin. The third. The third. Group the combat. First few died. Very weird circumstances.
Group combat.
Group combat.
Group combat. So let's say there's 6,
Shall I go
12...
first on this one?
Yeah, if you want to. I'll let you.
In the group combat one, I actually give this to you. I think the knights will win this one. And the reason why, whether it be 6 on 6, 12 on 12, whatever number you give it, the knights are I would say they're a much better trained force for teamwork.
Yes, yeah.
Would you back that up, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like, if they're on foot and they've got shields and swords, it's a shield wall.
It's a shield wall. And you're not getting through that. As a group of samurai, doesn't matter if you've got bows, doesn't matter on horseback, doesn't matter if you're charging, you're not getting through that shield wall.
No. If they're on horses, then they're still knee to knee, lances in a V formation.
They're just cutting through those samurai cavalrymen.
And as soon as that lance goes into one body, it's let go of and the sword's out, and before you know it, you've got to... Yeah,
they are the better I would say they're the better trained military force.
Yeah, as a military force.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
But the samurai they focused on the individual duel of honor, didn't they?
Yeah, of course. There was large group battles. There was wars. We know there was a lot of wars in feudal Japan, and they would have fought on the battlefield just like they did in Europe. But the strategy, obviously there was strategy in warfare in feudal Japan.
Yeah.
But I think that the leadership and the technology, like shields and armor, afforded a lot more choices for the knight.
It's strange that the Japanese never bothered with shields.
Yeah, it was all offensive. That's why the armor was so light.
Yeah,
because it was all how quick can I kill this guy?
I suppose you got the weather in Japan. I mean, yes, Europe can get
it's
pretty
very-
fucking hot.
very humid
And
in
obviously the
Japan.
nights fought in the desert, but Japan's still pretty fucking hot.
It's
and
very
humid.
hot and it's extremely
Do
humid.
you want to be fighting for... I mean, some medieval battles went on for like 8-12 hours.
Yeah, you don't want to be wearing steel armor in that humidity. You're gonna cook. You're gonna cook. You're gonna be sweating. You're gonna be dropping things because you're gonna be all sweaty. It's not the perfect scenario, is it?
Well, no, if you're in your army, you got your mail gauntlets and your...
If they don't slide off though from the sweat.
There's no sweat getting on it. You got cover your Iron Man.
You're Iron Man. But yeah, the knight is definitely winning this. I agree with you 100% on this one. The samurai doesn't really have, in every single scenario I gave you, the samurai only won because he kept his distance, he bided his time, he used cunning, speed, agility. It wasn't... I would say it's a fair fight because they used what they had to win the fight. But there's any kind of maneuver you're going to use, as a team, the knights are going to stop it.
Chivalry demands an honour duel, sir. And knights were just as good as duelling as a samurai.
If it was an honourable duel, then they would both have the same weapons.
They would.
Yeah, which we'll discuss in a minute, actually.
Or a choice of weapons. I mean, actually, the the defendant chooses the weapon.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly.
Yeah.
I think, yes, the defendant chooses the weapon.
So yeah, I don't think we really need to debate number 4 for very long, because I think
the knights are going to win. I think you got an armoured wedge, and let's say that the Japanese heavy cavalry came at them with their swords.
Well, a lot of my...
Their Najinta blades.
Yeah.
The Lancer's still got more reach.
A lot of my arguments involve the samurai getting to the side or getting behind them or attacking from below. You've got somebody there with another shield to protect your side, protect your back, protect everywhere. So if you're not able to protect a vital area, you've got your best friend who can.
That's it.
And the samurai,
absolutely.
they're coming in. They do believe in a lot of honour and fighting one-on-one. That's kind of their thing. So are they really going to be trying to protect each other, or are they going to be focusing on trying to take out their opponent? So they're probably not going to win that one in any. I can't see in any scenario them winning that. The knights have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the knights have it overall, personally.
I know you do, but it's interesting what you said about that. Is what kind of scenario would it be if it was fair? So for argument's sake, if the samurai was given armor made by a European blacksmith, it was a Japanese design, so to speak.
Yeah, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, like a European sort of...
That looked pretty cool as well, actually,
it would. But it was more European technology. Their swords were made from it. You could even say that the katana was made with Japanese and European sort of elements.
Okay.
They work together to make that sword. So the thing they lack is the defense and the technology in terms of weapons.
Yeah.
So give the samurai all the things that they lack.
Still no shield though.
Well, in this argument, let's say they do. They have a katana, and we give them a shield. We give them a Japanese equivalent of a shield, whatever that would be. I would imagine it would be something very short and small.
Like a duel, but then you
like a
European dueling shield.
Yes.
What's it called? A Taj.
Yeah, a Taj. That's it. Yeah, it's a Taj. Yeah.
So you hold it, the round bit of the shield in the middle. I don't know what it's called. Fits inside your fist. And...
Yeah, but I would imagine being a samurai and them being all offensive, it wouldn't be round. It would probably more be pointed with a sharp edge, so that if they need it, probably
sometimes the Tajis have a spike on them.
Yeah, they would have a spike, either a spike on the front or a spike maybe at the top near the fist, so that they could use that as a punching attack. Maybe that's the kind of shield, and maybe just a bit larger than a Taj, because the Tajes are quite small, aren't they? So maybe a little bit large, but not too big and heavy.
The dueling shields were quite small. They were just basically covered the fist, and you sort of knocked, ha-ha!
But it's not going to be It's not going to be a full proper shield.
No, a war shield.
They're not going to have the strength to carry that while swinging that really fast, light katana. It's just not going to work, is it? It's not going to work. You can't have that speed in one arm and that slow sort of defense in the other arm.
Strength you've got to build up over time.
Yeah, they're not going to have that. So it's going to be a light shield. It's going to be small. It's probably going to be pointed, and then they're going to have a stronger katana, and then they're going to have a much heavier sort of plated armor
made of bamboo.
Well, it won't be made of bamboo, will it? It'll be made by a European
bamboo.
European blacksmith. So let's say they have all of that.
It's bamboo coated in steel.
Let's say they have all of that, and then the knight has what he would use. Who do you give it to then?
I still give it to the knight.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Even with that superior armour, and we could even say that the one thing you've said
These
is
blades wrong.
I was just going to say the one thing you said is the katana. It doesn't have the right shape. So let's say the katana has a point to the end. So
it's got a point. It's a curved blade. They're not as good for stabbing.
Yeah,
a straight edge stab is better.
Let's say it's a thicker blade.
It's not katana then, though, is it? It's completely new.
Yeah, but that's what I've just said. It's a European flair on the katana. So
it'll be a straighter edge will be a curved tip.
It's got a curved tip, and it's 2 or 3 times thicker than a katana.
With the groove in the middle.
With the groove in the middle, yeah. You've merged the two together.
Yeah, so that's an interesting situation.
They've got a shield.
But you've still got that curved tip, and I don't think that you'll get through the straight edge. The point always beats the edge.
Yeah.
In every sword contest, the point beats the edge.
But now he can bludgeon because his sword is thick enough and heavy.
True,
enough.
but then he loses his mobility.
That's true, which he did have before.
When it comes down to style.
Yeah. So who do you give it to?
If it comes down to style in the long run, and they're both in the same armour,
similar armour, I still give it the knight because he's a bit more accustomed to it. Yeah. In a fair, honourable duel, you
because
give it
he's
the
not. And the Japanese, you put someone in that. You put a Japanese guy in a suit of samurai armour that's made of steel.
Yeah.
He can't do the martial arts either.
Yeah, because he can't move.
Because he can't move that rapidly or that fluidly. So the grappling skills of the knight in that scenario, the Greco
where he grabs him and he throws him to the ground.
Throws him down. He's got the strength. He's got the height.
Yeah.
I think he wins that, even if it's just like literally he's stamping on his head by the end of it.
I think I'll give you that one. I think that he's not used to wearing that sort of level of heaviness, that weight. Yeah. So his 2 strongest attributes is speed and agility. With that weighted armor, you've took away his agility. And with that heavy katana and that shield that he's not used to carrying or he doesn't really know how to use, you've taken away his speed.
I mean, you could argue you give him a Naodachi, which is a 2-handed, longer blade.
Yeah.
It was it was seen as a specialist weapon, so not every samurai would use that.
Yeah.
There were certain dojos that taught it.
Yeah.
But so they'd be like 6 foot long, but they are very much 2-handed. There's no defending with that kind of blade.
So he can't use his shield then.
So he couldn't use a shield then.
No. So he's already lost some of his defence.
Yeah.
And he's going to swing that a lot slower as well because he's covered in this plate armour he's not used to wearing.
That's it.
So even if he'd had training with it, he's still going to be the smaller guy. So because he spent his entire life not wearing armour. So even if you gave him, say, 6 months of training, he's still probably not going to be as big and as strong as the knight.
And he'd have to have the same diet as a knight to build the muscles quicker.
Yeah, which he's probably not. He's probably... Well, the Japanese diet is usually more rice and fish. It's more of a leaner diet.
Whereas the knights would be eating beef and lamb.
Yeah, your Japanese samurai is probably quite lean, quite toned, quite athletic built, whereas your knights maybe... He's still going to be toned, but he's not going to sort of be as ripped. He's going to be a lot bulkier. He's going to have those heavy muscles. And he is just going to basically close the gap. If the sword fight is drawing out, he's just going to pick him up and throw him, and he's going to slam him on the ground. And like you said, he's just going to beat him up.
Punching the pommel of his sword into the guy's face.
Yeah. He's
going to grab him. He's got it.
Yeah, he's going to crush him. He's going to crush him. That extra defense is not worth. It's not worth taking that extra defense for the loss of the speed and agility he had before.
So the knight wins.
The knight wins that one.
Knight wins overall then.
No, he won 2. He won 2.
Not 3 if you get that one.
2 out of 5. I said it was 50-50 on number 2.
I disagree. Knight wins. Knight wins.
Knight wins.
Knight wins. You know, if I just keep shouting something, it makes it true.
It makes it true.
Football.
I like how I gave detailed scenario. You can tell I have the combat background. Yeah. I gave detailed scenarios on how the smaller but faster combatant could win the fight, and you were just like, "Knight wins!
Knight wins!"
He just beats him up. He just slams his face in.
Yeah.
He just gets him with the pommel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say scenario 1 he wins. Scenario 2 he wins if he fights not so honourably. Scenario 3 he wins. Scenario 4 they definitely lose. The samurais definitely lose. But samurai.
Yeah.
Scenario 5, our sort of fantasy scenario, the samurai loses again. it's not worth giving him the armor. He'd look cool.
Oh, he looks.
He would look awesome.
Yeah.
The samurai armor is without a doubt way cooler than the knight armor. Knight armor's cool.
The armor is cool,
but it's not as cool as the samurai.
No,
armor.
it's just that look in it.
Yeah, they win on coolness. They win every time.
I'll give you the coolness factor.
Yeah.
But then again, that is like saying that, you know what, the Nazis look pretty cool too.
So what you're saying is you like the Nazis?
No, what I'm saying is that Imperial Japan and the Nazis have a lot in common, and you think they both look cool, so at some point they were conjoined.
I didn't think they both look cool. I didn't say that.
The Japanese look cool all of a sudden. Oh, it's winding you up.
But yeah, scenario 5, I give it to the knight as well.
The knight wins them.
He wins all 5 in your opinion.
No, he doesn't win all 5. Unarmored.
Yeah, you give him 1, didn't you? You gave the samurai 1.
Unarmored. Yeah, I think in the first one where they're both armored, if the both mounted, sorry.
Yeah.
If he just shoots arrows, maybe the knight will survive and get through.
Yeah.
If he's got his shield up, but if he shoots the horse and he doesn't come off it right.
Yeah. Like you said, worst case scenario, that horse falls on him.
Worst case, yeah. And then he's just like the samurai's gonna walk up, pull his helmet back, and slit his throat.
The samurai can go off, have a tea break, and then come back.
Exactly.
Ask him if he wants some tea.
He can go off, bang a geisha girl, come back,
slit his throat,
take his armor.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You've got knight samurai.
Yeah. Samurai knights.
Yeah, samurai knights.
Yeah.
Oh,
name of a movie that is.
That's the name of my next porn project. Samurai Knights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, I think
we've covered everything.
We've covered everything now.
We thought this was going to be a short video, and it was longer than the first video we did. Yeah, podcast,
this
not
is a
video.
Podcast.
Yeah, podcast.
Unless you're recording me and I don't know. Are you recording me?
There's cameras everywhere.
Oh man, you don't want to see what I did in the toilet.
Oh no. Yeah, we thought this would be a short video, but I guess we've debated it so much at home.
We thought of our frustrations.
Yeah, so it just went on for like an hour and a half rant, probably.
1 hour 22.
Yeah, maybe an hour and a half. But yeah, I think we covered everything.
I think so. So it's up to you, listener. Who's going to win?
Yeah, that deserves a vote, I think.
I think it does. We'll put a vote when this episode's released.
Yeah.
We will put a vote up on the Facebook page, linked to Cutting to the Ball in the Post to the Apocalypse. Got to plug my shit.
Got to do it.
You can plug your business if you like.
Nah, it's fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, never know.
Free advertising.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anyway, I've been Ben. Don't drink the Flavour Aid, and don't join a cult.
And I've been Shawn, and I still haven't thought of one yet. So that's all I'm going to say till I do.
The professionalism.
So professional. You're like, you had all day to think of one. I said that was the one thing I told you to do, and you still didn't think of one.
And I got high this afternoon.
Yeah. And you did most of the research.
And I did all the note taking.
Hey, I read the articles out aloud.
Okay, well, that's all. That wraps everything up in a neat package, doesn't it?
You were off doing hidden research to try and have that edge.
I was having a joint in the utility room watching a video.
Yeah, we don't condone these joint breaks you have.
I do.
To try and get that edge.
Also, marijuana's performance enhancer.
It's a performance enhancer. Well, according to you, it makes you funnier.
It's true. I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
When are we meant to be signing off?
Oh yeah.
You're right.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
And next week we'll do something more serious.
More serious next week.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Good night.
you